So I suppose I should give you some specs. It's kind of how these things generally run. So what we have, obviously, is the Vitpilen 701. From somebody else's testing, and definitely not from mine, I know that it does 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. Oh, this is vibing. This is lovely between the legs. Ah! My mirror's doing a screen wipe. Basically, you can either accelerate or look in your mirrors, but not both. It has got 6 gears. Let's relieve the engine somewhat. Oh, really? Everyone making the most of that last weekend before the kids go back to school, are they? I don't care how nice a Saturday is. I don't care what you're going to do. Oh, she's going to London on the last weekend. No. Avoid it. Avoid it like the plague. The braking power is good because it's light. The acceleration is good because it's light. The only caveat I would add is that obviously if it's wet or there's less grip, you need a bit of weight to sort of keep you bedded, but yeah, all positives. Hi, welcome to my personal space.
So this week's test is a bit of a different one. It is the Husqvarna Vitpilen 701. It shares a few similarities with another bike which shall remain nameless for a portion of time. It might pop up in conversation, who knows? 690! Sorry. So obviously, as I previously mentioned, I am looking for a new bike this year. I don't mention that so that Husqvarna will give me a free one, although that would be nice. I mention it more from a standpoint of this bike is in competition. It's in competition with a few bikes. It is in the sort of retro class. It is a smaller bike. It certainly is more nimble, but in terms of specifications, stats, it trounces the other ones in this competition, to be perfectly frank. It is a performance machine at the end of the day. So let's list a few of those stats for you now, because again, this is quite a tech-heavy or spec-heavy bike.
It makes around 74 horsepower and about 53 foot-pounds of torque, or 72 newton meters, whichever you prefer. And it makes that around the 6,500 rev limiter mark. Obviously it goes all the way up to 13, but you probably won't see much above 10, if I'm honest.
Starting with the engine, it is a 692 capacity single cylinder 4-valve motor. I think I listed most of the things it has there. It is also liquid cooled. That is something else I should include. So for a single, you've probably already heard, it's quite a revvy single, and it has quite a wide span. If you do want to hang on to a gear and you don't just want to jump through gears, you can sort of do that. Just to clarify though, in terms of the engine character, it is still a single. And I know they're going to say that they have refined it, they have made it smoother, and they certainly have over other singles, but that type of engine has certain traits.
It's got that lovely single cylinder chatter that you get when you're in the wrong revs. It will tell you. You go, it feels like I'm lacking a bit of power, maybe I should change up, and the engine goes, tut, 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 tut. Yes you should. It's not shaking my entire body, but I can definitely feel that it wants to move up.
As I say, they definitely have refined it. It's definitely smoother than most other singles, but it certainly isn't as smooth as a twin, a triple, or a 4-cylinder. And I'm sure that will get some comments down below, feel free, but it's just my experience of them. And believe me, I've owned one for long enough to form an opinion on it.
90-mile range. How have you gone up? Right. Apparently what it also does is create its own fuel. It's its own fuel source. Because it's powered on pure smug, and right now I'm pretty smug. There you go, that scrubbed off 10 miles. That definitely wasn't 10 miles.
Singles also tend to have quite a lot of engine braking. That's lessened on this one because it is smoother, and 2 because it has a slipper clutch. So when you change down, it shouldn't lock the rear wheel. It also has, and I think they call it easy shift, but it's essentially a quick shifter. In brackets, because it's not really a quick shifter, but it sort of works the same. As long as you're making it sing, it can jump through gears quite easily without you using the clutch. It makes up changes seamless, and it just adds to this acceleration of, again, 3.6 seconds. Ooh, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi speed camera.
It is on the firm side, it will shake your bones. The seat is quite firm as well. It is a sporty bike, make no mistake. I wouldn't necessarily use it as a commuter, but if you wanted to, if this is what you got your heart set on and you're going to do occasional pops to work or just occasional pops through town, it's not the worst thing in the world. It has got clip-ons, it is quite sporty, but the single cylinder punches through traffic. It's very thin so you can get through gaps. Yeah, it would work. It's just that if you're going to do a long distance or if you're going to be in city for a long time, you're going to get very tired very quick, mainly between your legs.
Then let's get on to some of the geometry of the bike and the weight of the bike as well. Wheelbase fairly standard, rake and trail fairly standard, so those aspects of the geometry are, again, pretty standard, to overuse that word, but you are quite tall, you are quite high up, and you are quite forward. In fact, really quite far forward on top of that front wheel. I don't think I've been on a bike where I've seen less of the bike than the Vitpilen 701, which is a hell of a shame because it's a very pretty vehicle. All you have is the Vista in front of you and a vague ache in your thighs and slightly in your wrists. There you go. Does that explain it?
Well now, quite a stiff ride. This is messing up my junk in all kinds of ways. In all kinds of ways.
Then we come to suspension. Suspension, we have, I think, full adjustability on the front. Certainly you have rebound and compression on the front. And you can adjust that quite simply on the forks. And on the back you have, I believe, rebound and preload. It is obviously on the stiff side, but not ridiculously so, and it's WP.
Brake's very good. Yeah, very good. Considering that is single. I mean, a lot of the benefit to this bike, a lot of its plus points, acceleration and braking, can be explained through its weight. The fact that it has such a good power to weight ratio, and that goes for the braking as well, braking power.
Then if we're talking about the character of the bike again, we're going to talk about the weight of the bike, because I feel that that is practically the party piece of this machine, because it comes into play in so many different areas. It has stonking acceleration, I think, for the most part because of the power to weight ratio. It has quite good braking despite the fact that it only has the one disc on the front, and again I'm going to put that down to the fact that there is less weight to stop in the first place. And it has very good handling again because it is a light machine. You can throw this thing around. It's coming in around 167 kilograms for a wet weight. That's crazy light for any bike. And really, if you want to take a quick guess on how that affects handling and how this bike feels, I think most of you can probably draw your own conclusions as to what it's going to feel like to ride.
I saw a guy down this very road the other day on one of these. Where's my Vitpilen friend? Where's my new buddy? We can go and get ourselves trendy flat whites or cortado. He looked like a cortado drinker. Probably knows the latest version of milk. What are we on now? Avocado milk? I don't know. Aubergine milk, is that a thing?
And then I guess the big point, how much does it cost? £8,899 in the UK at the moment of making this video. Or whenever I tested it. A week ago? Early 2019.
I don't tend to favour the sharp and agile bikes, or not this sharp and agile, because it makes me a bit more of an aggressive rider, and I don't necessarily like being an aggressive rider. I'd quite like occasionally to be able to switch off from that and relax into it every now and then. I don't think I would relax into this bike, but if all you're looking for is that kind of payoff from going quickly, both in a straight line and round a corner, it's a great bike for it.
How would I sum up this bike as quickly as I possibly can? I'd say if you want to go quickly, this has to be worth a look. It's a seriously fast bike. It is seriously agile, and it will probably embarrass quite a few other bigger bikes. KTM's motto, as you probably know, is ready to ride. No, this isn't a KTM, is it? Nearly got the whole way through the review without mentioning them. Sorry, I'm sorry. All right, I'm being facetious. Yeah, it's very similar to the KTM. The main reason I probably wouldn't buy this bike is because KTM exists, and I'm not even talking about the 690. For me, genuinely, if I was looking at a bike out of this or the KTM 790 Duke, that is the bike that I would pick. I would pick it because 1, it is quicker, 2, it feels more substantial, and 3, it's smoother because it's a twin. It's also very similar weight, and most importantly, it's actually cheaper than this bike, and you get more for it. That is just my taste, but I feel like most people who are looking at this bike probably won't be put off by that. And please don't be. If you are looking for this bike, you're probably not looking at it to compare it to other bikes. You're buying it because it is unique. It looks very different. And do you know what? Out of a lot of other bikes that I've ridden, it did get some looks. I have absolutely no doubts you'll see more of these on the road. And actually, when I see someone on one, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I will be jealous of them. At least for a split second, before they disappear.
Yeah, it looks a little odd, doesn't it? I'm trying to work it out. Ultimately, if you were just buying for practicality, you'd get a scooter if you were in a city. If you want something with a little bit more style, you'll go for something like the Street Twin because it's easy to live with. And then if you just are dead set on having this bike and you think all the compromises are worth it, you'll probably go for it and be very happy. If not just because when you walk away from it, you'll probably find yourself looking back at it quite a lot. And people looking at you on it and getting compliments for it. It's a big ego boost. It's a big ego boost. What do you reckon? We don't care? Nope. Not a connoisseur of bikes. She doesn't give a shit.
Thank you very much for watching. Catch you in the next one. Ta-ra. Short and sweet, short and sweet. Leave them wanting more.